Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
This is a special edition of Tech Talk with Afo.
Okay.
Oh, my sister. Good to see your beautiful face, man.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Are you in Europe or you're in Nigeria?
No, I'm in Switzerland.
You're still in Switzerland.
Uh-huh.
Good to see you, man.
Thank you very
And
much. Good to see you
thank you
too.
thank you for making out time to join our session.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. It's nice to be
Yes,
part of it. Thank you for inviting me too.
and thank you for accepting to be part of it. Let me just briefly introduce you to my team that we're working on this together. Mrs. Esijeloni, she's been like a mentor to me, a sister. We were also colleagues at Stanford Lead, and we've kept in touch ever since then,
Yeah.
right? Tech Talk with Afo is a podcast I started early this year to discuss everything around technology. All right. And we also saw that it is important for us to look at policies that affects technology, not just technology discussion alone. Last week, we had conversation around the new Naira note and how, technology would have solved the challenges we are facing if the Central Bank of Nigeria has done the needful in terms of, paying attention to what their customers want, really understand the Nigerian dynamics and why rushing it would not have been the right thing to do. So today we also want not to be political in any shape or form, but we also want to look at the candidate that are the front runners, in this election, and from a tech standpoint, to also look at which of these candidates will be better for technology. So we brought four guys that are passionate about all these candidates who intend to speak to our audience on who their preferred candidates will be for 2023. So I want you to be the adult in the room, the adult on the session that would help us, guide the conversation, ensuring that we don't go out of line as much as possible. So I have Ife. Ife is also co-host to Tech Talk with Afo. I have Kester. Kester is also co-host with Tech Talk to Afo. Everything about the podcast, Ife and Kester are responsible for it. Ife and Kester, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello.
Okay, I think Kester should go.
Okay. Good afternoon, Ma. It's an honor to be on the same set with you. We were informed that you would be joining this a while yesterday, and I was looking forward to having this session, and I'd also like to hear your thoughts as well on this matter. It's nice to be on set with you, Ma.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
We very quickly, we also have Dr. Peju Afano. Dr. Peju Afano, she's my colleague from EDC, Enterprise Development Center. As a matter of fact, she's the current national vice president of the network. She also has a lot of experience when it comes to running business in Nigeria. So the new government that is coming to power is of interest to every business person in Nigeria. So the conversation is also important to her. She would also be talking to us about our own point of view, with regards to the conversation we are having. Auntie Peju, Dr. Peju, do you want to just quickly?
Hi, such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to very interesting conversations as well.
So the arrangement of this conversation is more of 4 guys that really want to debate one another on who their choice candidate is for 2023, and to make a case on why they think their candidate will be the best person for technology in 2023. So okay. I have Taufik, I have Kesta, I have Ife, and Kelechi. Now, these 4 guys, they want to speak to us on who their preferred candidates will be. They all have a choice already. One is for Atiku, one is for Obi, one is for Tinubu, and they want to make their case. So when the conversation started, I said, you know what? I'm going to organize a Zoom session that would go live for you to really push forward your point, and hopefully before the election, you probably will convince people that will support your candidate. So it's more of a debate and interactive session. And I also want you to be a member of the panelists to moderate the session for us. So to set the tone for our conversation, I just would like to start by, sharing some very important information about technology generally in Nigeria as it is today. We all understand that technology investment in Nigeria in 2020, African startups received over 1.3 billion in venture capital investment. Fintech, e-commerce, and health startup leading the way when it comes to attracting investments. Job creation in African startups are also, going up by the day, looking at the numbers we have. We also have more women in tech, despite the growth in tech generally. Women are also making effort to attract investment in the tech space. So one of the highly celebrated technology firm in Nigeria that also have achieved good results are the likes of Flutterwave, Paystack, with what they've achieved in numbers. The Nigerian government, in their own little way, are also making efforts. For example, if you look at what has been done by the launch of various initiatives to support tech and innovation, this, of course, includes the efforts by NIDA, the effort by PEBEC, right? So looking at all of this, we are looking at a precedent that would take us from where we are, quadruple what has been achieved so far in technology, right? We're looking at the next 4 years that Nigeria would stand shoulder to shoulder with the likes of, Indian at least. If we cannot stand with US, at least we should compete with Indian, and of course, surpass, go beyond what we've achieved compared to South Africa in Africa. So this is what we are looking at and where we hope Nigeria will get to in 4 years. So for our speakers, I would first want to call on Kelechi to share with us who your own choice candidate will should be for 2023 and why you believe your candidate is the right man for technology. Kelechi, you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you very much, Afo. My name is Kelechi Emmanuels, and I'd like to appreciate Afo for calling this gathering, if I have to call it a gathering. For me, I'm rooting for Peter Obi, and there are several reasons why I'm backing Obi for the presidency of Nigeria. Aside the fact that the people of Nigeria, Nigerians as a whole, are tired of the present government, the present APC government, as much as they are tired of the previous government, that's the PDP government. Nigeria needed or needs a fresh breath of air in terms of leadership, in terms of the caliber of people we select as our leaders. So for that reason alone, Obi, to me, stands out from what the usual, what we usually have, from the norm. Obi stands out. Aside his record achievements as when he was governor of Anambra State, there are also several parameters that distinguish Obi among the other candidates. As we progress in this discussion, I will begin to highlight my reasons. Most of them are tech-based. Some of the reasons are tech-based, and some of the other reasons that is outside of tech, why I support Obi. So let me leave it at that. But for me, Obi is my go-to person if I've been the one to call the shot for Nigerian president. So I'll leave the floor open for my other colleagues to also let me know who their choice is.
Okay. Thank you, Kelechi, for that. You know, I really want you to reflect on facts to support your position on why you're supporting Obi from a tech standpoint. You know, would like to hear what Obi has done in the tech space and why you believe is better for tech, right? Particularly because we understand if you really want to talk about things that you can celebrate about Nigeria, our effort in the technology and innovation space is one of it, right? InterSwitch, for example, now it's a 1 billion value company. Flutter Wave is a $1 billion valued company. These are remarkable achievements when it comes to tech. So who can take it to the next level is our concern and our interest on Techtalk with Afo. Taufik, you have the floor now.
All right. Thank you, Afo. Thank you, Kelechi, for that wonderful opening. And of course, I'm not surprised that, you know, from the word go, we've actually been rooting for individual candidates. And for my side, I strongly stand with Bola Tinubu. And to that extent, I will call myself batified. And this is actually based on, I mean, several parameters. And the reality is the fact that these parameters, based on our exposure and understanding to each of these candidates, is what is actually informing our decision as to whom to support. I support Bola Tinubu based on his track records in and outside of tech. And of course, it's not about what is actually will be done, it's about what has been done. Reading through manifestos of each of these candidates, you can actually tell apart as to who understands his KPI when it gets there and what they need to do. So to that extent, I see Bola Tinubu's manifesto as clearly highlighting what will actually move Nigeria forward to the next level. And this is one person who has been, whose campaign is basically around what I have done before. If you ask me a question, what will you do in this area? Yes, I have done so and so in this area in my small enclave in Lagos, then I can advance it further. And you can see some of these things being replicated even at the national level. And again, we are talking around tech, and I think we'll get a conversation in this area. To that extent, Tinubu has a clear manifesto to get it done, and it has a clear track record on what has been done in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Taufik. So to support, before we come back to Kelechi also has someone who is also leaning to his own choice. Kester, right? Do you want to, do a follow-up to what Kelechi has just talked about before we come back to Kelechi?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Afo. So I'm going to start somewhere a little bit away from this, but still honing on the point of who is best for tech innovations in Nigeria. So in this past month, we've been hearing people talk about these candidates, and one thing I found common is the fact that they expect the best candidates to be perfect as a person, as a human being. But the truth is that there's no human being that's perfect. And to that, with that being said, obviously we know Tinubu is no perfect person, and Obi is also no perfect person either. And if I were to, because I've thoroughly gone through both their manifestos, I've gone through their, I mean, I was not alive during most of the times or during some of the times Tinubu was active in some of the stuff he did in 1990s and all of that, but at least I read about it. And one thing that speaks for sure is that he's an action man. That's Tinubu. He's definitely an action man. He's someone that knows how to get things done, right? But what I also found in his track record is that he is someone that has gotten his hand really dirty over the years, like really, really dirty, right? And that is where the line draws for me. Now, this may sound naive because in politics, you need to get your hands dirty, right? But then again, I believe there ought to be some principles, right? And to that, with that being said, I think if I were to go for any of these candidates if you notice, I'm just leaving Atiku out because I honestly don't consider Atiku as one of and as we go further in, I'm going to explain more about that, because in their manifestos, the differences was clear, especially as to tech innovations in Nigeria. So if I were to go for anybody, I would say Obi would be the candidate of my choice, even though I still don't think he has everything that is needed to get the right thing done. That's just to wrap it up from this introduction. Yeah, thank you.
All right. While you guys reflect on why you think your choice candidates are the ones that we should vote for next week, I want Mrs. Esijeloni to share her thoughts with us, as the elder in the room, right, on what are the things that we should always have in mind, particularly when it comes to choosing a leader in a country like Nigeria.
Thank you.
You have the floor, ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much, Afo. And good afternoon to all the speakers and all present at this meeting. Talking about the elder in the room, in today's age, I think elder has nothing to do with age. Is what do you have to deliver? What's your quality? What's the value you want to bring? As far as I'm concerned, this is what I consider elder. Of course, as Africans, we do recognize that there is something like age. But given what we have today in front of us and what we are facing, in a nutshell, for me, and if anyone can tell me any of these candidates meet those requirements, then that is the individual. And it is basically based on, if you want, biblical and non-biblical principles, just leadership, simple scientific leadership rules, or biblical if you want, or spiritual if you want. It says you have to look for people of integrity backed by skills. It's there in the Bible. And it's there in the corporate world. I've been in the corporate world all my life. If you do not have skills, you can't perform. And if you do not have integrity, forget it. It's not sustainable. So how we slice or dice this conversation amongst the candidates that we're looking at, my take is very simple. If someone can tell me and prove to us, the Nigerians and non-Nigerians alike, partners who want to support what Nigeria is doing, who want to help make Nigeria great again, all I would say is show me a man of integrity or a woman of integrity that is backed with skills, then that is the person that I would say we should look out and go for that person. This is my take on it.
Yes, thank you for that, right? I just would like to add to it that the Tinubu that we have as Tinubu, Obi, Atiku that are the front runner today, in my own opinion, are a reflection of Nigeria, right? We have them as front runners because Nigerians support them. Nigerians believe in them. They represent our values. They represent our character. If Tinubu, Obi, and Atiku really did not match what we want, then as individuals, we actually should make efforts pushing people forward that has those values that we hope to see, right, in Nigeria. So and that's why when we're having conversations like this and when people try to, describe any of all these personalities, my first quick follow-up will be that these people reflect us, right? They have, mass supporters in Nigerians, which confirms that this is who we are as people. Dr. Kweju, you are on board because we know you understand Nigeria more than any of my young chaps here. A bulk of the people that are on this or that are following Techtalk with Afo are people within the age bracket of 25 and 30, right? So we need people like you that would guide us and give us a sense of direction. And that's why, I reached out to you personally that I want you to be, on this conversation. So you have the floor, ma'am.
So what am I supposed to be talking about? Let me be sure if it's the same question you.
Yes, the same thing. I mean, as the elder in the room, we're talking about the next leader of Nigeria. We're looking at a leader that would be good for technology. We're looking at a leader that will be good for innovation, right?
Okay.
We're looking at a leader that would bring us together as a country and give us a vision we can run with. People need motivation, right? So, I just want you from your own wealth of experience.
My own experience to just okay. So
yes.
let me start with something very fundamental for me. So I just recently became an agile coach, and everybody's doing transformation. And something that has stood out for me amongst the three candidates is that BAD has actually been practicing agility even before agility became popular. And what does agility do? Agility has a vision as the person at the top. And I think that's the best way government should be managed. We need to bring in agility into government. You have the person at the top with the program vision and says, this is what I want. That's the big vision, has the big picture. This is what I want. And that person is able to put a team together, not a team that you have to micromanage, but a team that is competent enough to handle it without having to interfere, without having to give day-to-day guidance and say, do this way, do that way. But because you have a team, and the team is broken down into levels. You have the program level, then you have the project level, that's the implementation level. So when you have that kind of hierarchy in place, I think it's going to be easy to run the government. And that I have seen, the only person I have seen able to bring that on board is BAT. When you hear Obi speak, he talks more in terms of, I will do this, I will do that. And that does not help anybody. What we need right now is a unifying voice. We need somebody that can build a team. Because if you leave office tomorrow, there's no other person that has the competence, that has the ability to be able to continue to steer the country forward. And that's what kills a lot of businesses when they're micromanaged. So one of the key things you need to look at is, look at the big picture, look at the broad picture. Everybody now all over the world, even big organizations are looking at agility. They're looking at business transformation because they know that that is the future. You can track, you can check people's capacity, you can achieve more because you're agile. But when you're micromanaged, when you're even handling it like a project, which is like project management, you can't even achieve as much as you would if you're agile. And the thing with agility means is teamwork, it's collaboration. And you find out that when you have a team working on something, you get 10 times the value than if you have one person working on something. So I think that's the perspective that I'd like us to look at. Yes, he's young. Yes, he has the integrity that he's been selling, and that's what is working for Peter Obi. But Nigeria at the moment needs a lot more than that. We need somebody that has the skill, because I think what is missing now with Obi is the skill set to be able to lead a nation as big as Nigeria, as diverse as Nigeria, to the next level. So it's now a function of, what do we value the most? Do we value skill over integrity, or do we value integrity over skill? And if you put all on the scale, which one is going to tip the scale the most? Because if you look at the Nigerian society, I like what Afo said, that our leaders are a reflection of the society, because you can't take away, look at what is happening with this currency swap. It's so clear. People take advantage of a situation. So there's no guarantee that anybody that comes into the office, everybody's just waiting for the opportunity to be there. So the leader is just a reflection of more of what the society is about. So if we can, and we all know corruption, anywhere in the world, everybody would tell you, you can't even take away corruption. You can't eliminate corruption. You can only put systems in place that would help you reduce it to the barest minimum, not eliminate it. It's not possible. Even the developed world, you can't take away corruption from the developed world. So for us in Africa, where you have 90% or 80% of the population already corrupt, where do you even want to start from? The only thing you need is somebody that understands systems, somebody that understands processes, somebody that understands what it means to drive a nation forward. And like, I also did a course in World Bank, and it's on development finance. And what we need in Africa, in developing countries, is more of domestic resource mobilization and being able to curb illicit financial flows. So if we can get a leader that can manage those two, I think Nigeria is going to be on the next level of growth and progress. So let me just hang it there.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Dr. Okweju. We really appreciate your contribution. Mrs. Esijeloni said something that I took very seriously: the importance of integrity with ability, right? The future we're looking at, the country we want Nigeria to become, is a country where a bulk of Nigerians would be mindful of the importance of integrity, and that seems to be one thing that is missing today. That sense of ownership, more of what Nigerian can do, what you can do for Nigeria, and not just what you want to get from Nigeria. Kelechi, right, you're not selling your guy as much as I expected. Kelechi, are you there?
Two key takeaways from the elders in the house. Yeah, one stand on integrity, and the other, one of the elders stand more on having the skill set to rule these nations. I think for me at this moment, what Nigeria need most, what Nigeria, on a scale, I would tilt more to the integrity platform, because the level of corruption, yes, we cannot keep corruption in its entirety as a nation. It abounds everywhere. But to a greater extent, I will pick a man that has been proven in terms of integrity. And again, I don't get where we'll get this notion, or where we'll get this track record that Obi doesn't have the skill sets. We can take the case of Anambra State, for example, being one of the states that has been managed by Obi. I don't think the 8 years Obi ruled as the governor of Anambra State. I'm from Anambra State, and I still have friends. In fact, my higher education was in Anambra State. Anambra State was not micromanaged. It all boils down, even when Obi was impeached as the governor, it all boils down to some corrupt elements wanting to have their way. And the person at the helms of Apia is saying, no, this cannot go down well with my people. And when we talk about micromanaging a state, I think Lagos State is a case of a state that has been micromanaged. Micromanaging in the sense that we have one man being the sole godfather, let me use that term, of a state, being the one to determine who ascends the throne of the governorship of a state since he left office, being the one calling the shot as to whether the governor will continue in the second term, that's provided if he plays by his rules. If he doesn't play by his rules, that means he will only go for first time, and the second time he will go nowhere. We are talking the case of Ambode here. So if we are looking at micromanaging, I think the person that has the knack for micromanaging an institution is Bart. Peter Obi has proven in all ramifications that he can manage a state. Yeah, maybe the transition, we could say, okay, what did his successor do after him? Yeah, you also know that in management, why you are not trying to micromanage means you are also giving your successor or your subordinate or whoever you are managing or you are handing over to the leeway to do the right thing. And that person also has the propensity or also has the ability to also go his own. I don't think all of us think alike, or all of us we don't have the same mindset. Yeah, Obiano came in and messed up one or two things, but he was also able to build on some things that Obi actually started. I believe if you ring Obiano today, he will tell you.
Okay, we
part
lost
of the
Kelechi.
success, it boils down to what the foundation that was laid down by Obi.
All right, thank you, Kelechi. One Joy Boy has his hand up, but before we come back to Joy Boy, Taufik, you want to counter?
Sure. I would just want to start from where Kelechi stopped, mentioning that micromanaging. First, to start with, in leadership, there's no success without successor. I mean, if you say you have all the leadership skills, you don't build a system that actually sustains itself. In the first instance, you have failed, because whatever you have done as a legacy will not leave. I mean, you will not live to actually benefit from that legacy, right? So just to start from there. But again, we want us to reflect on what brought us to this point. In 2014, 2013, we think everything was so bad. So we're looking for government individuals that has that peak of integrity. Our search ended with Buhari, right? We felt that once integrity is fixed, every other thing is fixed, because we felt people were stealing money from the government, right, front, left, and center, right? So we got to that point, we felt, okay, with Buhari's integrity, everything should be fixed. We get to realize that much more than integrity, we need other things. Otherwise, integrity will be useless, as Madam has said earlier, without having somebody who has a requisite skill set and big vision to carry us into the next level. And that is exactly the strong points of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He has that strength in ability to actually be able to source for talents. First of all, I mean, a leader is not meant to do everything by himself, but he should be able to have a bigger vision and be able to coordinate, people all together to be able to get it done. Now, the idea of micromanaging, if what is being done in Lagos is what we call micromanaging, I would just say all Nigerian states should have the best of it, because you have somebody who have actually seen a big vision. He knows that this vision can his own entire life, should outlive the vision, right? Okay, so he has created a template in which a lot of other ideas are coming forth. Number one, he actually created a template for a bigger picture of what a Lagos should be. Okay, now, a lot of other structures. So it was not just about building structures, building infrastructure. It's about building a superstructure on which the infrastructure can lay. And you can actually give Tinubu a lot of kudos on that. While he's building infrastructure, in spite of the limited amount of resources during his tenure, he was able to build a structure that can actually outlive his own 8 years. And those things are what is betting every other thing, as we call it today. Now, back to the issue of having the godfather that can actually call the shot. Again, my colleague Kelechi is actually getting it wrong in that area. If you have a leader who can actually suggest and identify who can identify talent. You won't fault Tinubu on that, right? So if you identify and you feel that, okay, based on this, we have actually created a template for a state to work. We expect things to work in that manner. And I mean, somebody seems to be deviating, and okay, the whole of the system, the whole of the structure that is created around politics within that system is seeing that. He's not even saying don't go again. The idea of saying Tinubu, Ambode was not allowed the second time was actually a wrong narration that a lot of people have actually taken so long a time. That was not the narration. The narration is a case of, yeah, we feel that you're not doing well, go to the poll and contest with others. If you lose out, somebody is not anointing you. So if somebody anointed you and they say you are going to the poll to go to do a primary and you lose out, I mean, that is not an issue of anointing anybody, right? So to a very great extent, Bola Tinubu has that big vision. And I can actually cite it. Let me just give a quick example of what vision can actually do. During Osun State election, right? Aregbesola was to lose that election by the virtue of the outcome of the results. Okay, somebody stood in and say, yes, we have a case of rigging in this circumstance, and we feel that we can actually defend it. He called all the brilliant lawyers all together and said, we can get it done. What will it get it done is for you to be able to prove that everybody in this system, I mean, there's a rigging system and you can be able to prove. It actually requires a lot of forensic investigation, right? And remember, we are bereft of data in Nigeria, bereft of technology that can actually make it happen. Back to our discussion of the day, which is about using technology. He insisted that I believe that we can actually get our mandate back, get how this will be possible. Whoever is actually starting with that responsibility, in person of the current deputy president of Lagos, vice president of Nigeria now, was assigned to set a task. Though they got people globally, I mean, tech experts globally, to be able to prove a forensic case against a candidate. They were able to get it done. That got them, this mandate back from, I mean, what will have been termed as a fraud of the century, right? So a big vision is idea of this thing can be achieved. I don't want to know. You can actually get it done, but I'm sure you can achieve. Put the resources together, plug them together, drive them, and give them all the requisite support to get it done. This happened, and a lot of several examples of this, and it can actually be traced to Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So beyond integrity is good to have. Definitely, we need it at this point, right? But beyond that, the energy to be able to plug people together is what we need so much, and that's what's currently lacking both in the present government and in the past government that we've had. So we don't have anybody, we don't have the leader that can propel us into achieving our full potential as a country. That is what you can't take away from Ashwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Nobody is saying Episobi does not have it. Nobody is saying Atiku does not have it. But in the scale of how much we need it, Ashwaji have it much more ahead of other in the past. Thank you.
All right, Taufik and Kelechi, both of you still haven't, touched the art of the conversation around tech. Let me share some facts again. Maybe that would guide your thoughts on what justice I expect you to do, because it is still around which of these candidates is better for tech. So Nigerian tech talent pool is growing. I mean, if you talk about one of the success story of Africa today, is actually the tech space in Nigeria. Nigeria has a large pool of tech talent, Scrum Master, Python developers, Java developers, right, that are working not just in Nigeria, but they are being sourced from all over the world, right? With many young people studying computer science, engineering, and related fields. Several Nigerian tech startups have also established training programs to help develop the country's tech talent. Now, the challenge remain, these challenges still remain despite the growth of the tech sector in Nigeria. There are still challenges that need to be addressed. Now, if you look at the investment that has gotten into the tech space in the last couple of years and compare it to what we have in terms of development, you can see that there's actually very contradictory. So the question is, the front runners that we have today, which of these front runners do you think would help us double whatever we've achieved in the tech space? Which of these front runner can create an enabling environment that we can have 10 more of Flutterwave, 10 more of Paystack, 10 more of Jumia and Konga, and moving, taking advantage of the AI, the machine learning that most countries are already ahead of Nigeria.
Can I just come in briefly, sir?
Yes, Kesa, please.
Okay, there is no doubt that Tinubu is a very competent man, but two truths can coexist, and it is the truth that Peter Obi, as well, from his track record, is also a very competent man. We shouldn't try to reduce his achievements, his accomplishments, because the other party has a whole lot of that, right? So that's just by the way. Now, speaking to the exact subject or topic matter, that is which of the candidates should be best fit, right, for tech advancements in the country. I want to take us down to their manifestos, right? All three of them, including Atiku, their manifestos. And one thing, sadly, that is common in their manifesto regarding tech is that it was just vague. In other words, there was no clear process as to how to implement whatever thing they stated. Now, the worst in this list, obviously, or maybe not obviously, but the worst in this list to me was Atiku. From what I read, he didn't even speak anything about broadband, and broadband is like one of the core of tech in terms of, you know, going advanced and all of that, reaching the other. So now, coming to Tinubu and Obi in this regard now, what I saw that Tinubu did on his manifesto, or what I saw that his writers did on the manifesto was that they did a lot of promises. For example, he said that he is looking at giving, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if this is the exact detail, but I'm just paraphrasing. He is looking at giving up to, providing up to 1 million tech jobs before 2025 or so. Now, there was no statement whatsoever about how this would be done. He also said that in regards to broadband, that he would set it up in place such that it would be in, like, we would have it in up to 90% in the country, just generally speaking. And again, there was nothing said to how, like the implementation process. And if we check the track record, right? If we check the track record of our past candidates and even elected presidents, if it's about beautiful manifestos and they always deliver on that. In fact, I was watching a TVC news, which we would expect, because it's TVC news, that it would almost always shame Obi and anybody that is not Tinubu. So I was watching a TVC news some time ago, and one of the journalists there was just talking about how Obi's manifesto was filled with typos and errors, which I read it and it's true. It was filled with type, and if anything, that should go as incomplete. It should give an excuse that this person is not competent, right? Because even a normal content writer should not have to deliver a job that has so many typos, right? So my point here is that regardless of all of that, from what we saw, or from what I saw from Peter Obi's manifesto, even though to some extent it was also vague, but amongst all the candidates, he was able to, or before I go there, he didn't put out a category specifically for tech. He had 7 different points, 7 different major points, and he didn't put out a category specifically for tech. But in under the fourth category, that was where he emphasized on technology in its entirety as to his plans for it, right? And with that, to me, I believe from what he wrote down, it's amongst the other candidates, it showed more clarity and a more broken down process as to how he intends to achieve. And I don't want to start listing all of them, but definitely, because I'm sure people will come out and tell me now that what about this? There are some parts where he didn't put much process as to how to get that, but more than the rest of them, he did.
And thank you for your contribution. All your thoughts. Ife, you've been quiet. We don't even know where you stand.
So I think I've just been like trying to pick everyone's mind, and my own take is that I won't try and lean on Tinubu or lean on Atiku, but like the way we do in science, everything, we should always be focusing on the objective truths, right? And I see the mistake a lot of Nigerians are making. So people are like tending to base their choice for candidacy based on their own personal truths. So, and personal truth is always peculiar to your own experience. So, and they tend to neglect the objective truths. So if you should check both Tinubu's achievements, Atiku's achievements, Peter Obi's achievements, we would see that from a text standpoint, we would see that Tinubu has an edge. I'm not supporting Tinubu. I know they all have their flaws. Tinubu has his own flaws. Let's talk about the computer village we have now. We could see that it was computer village development was as a result of Tinubu's efforts to drive tech innovation in Nigeria. So that was as far back as 1993 to 2007. So I know Tinubu is lacking in some ways, but he has shown the skills already. I think what people are battling with him on is the integrity. And coming to Peter Obi, people are seeing Peter Obi as someone that has all this, is promising. He has the energy, he has the drive. And yeah, and if we look at the reason why
it seems we've lost Ife. Dr. Peju. Hello, Dr. Peju.
Wow.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay.
Okay, yes, you're back, Ife.
Yeah, so I'm saying, like I was saying, if we should, let's look at Peter Obi. Peter Obi is promising, he has the drive, but we've seen a lot of that. And I think we as Nigerians, we tend to be deceived by these, just like Esther said, they all have sweet manifestos. Like, I think when it comes to manifestos, I think Nigerians, presidential candidates, they are like the leading in terms of, if you should take a look at Atiku's manifesto, you wouldn't compare it to the manifestos of those of Joe Biden or the US presidential candidates. But I'll just like us to, just to wrap it short, I'll just like us to really focus on the facts and the logic. And that is what I'm really expecting here. So I would really expect people to really base their arguments based on facts and logic. So that's just, that's all from me.
All right, thank you, Ife. Dr. Peju wanted to say something, Dr. Peju, are you still there? Dr. Peju?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Yes, man, go ahead.
Okay, so in terms of so what I said earlier about the team micromanaging is that when you say micromanage, I mean in terms of I as a team leader, as somebody that leads a team, you talk more in terms of we did this, we did that. That's the most important thing. Trying to say you're prudent, you're economical, you're this, doesn't mean that it's just about you. Then you have to have a big team. When you say my team or we did this, we did that, it's not about you. So in terms of technology, one of the things I remembered in those days, people, we seem to forget things a lot. I think Lagos State was one of the first states that transitioned into tech earlier than any other state in Nigeria. I remember when the e-courts were going to start in Lagos. This was before e-courts even became popular at all, because I remember trying to do some research in those days. I can't remember, many years ago. It's such a long time that it's just coming to me as we're talking about it. And how Lagos, they tried to upload all their judicial system online. So it's easy to access court judgments, court information without having to go to the court, because they had set up like an electronic filing system. I think that was one of the technological innovations that Lagos had brought in. And even the GIS mapping, I think Lagos State was one of the first states that actually started the GIS mapping, which is also tech-based. And if you look at it, if you look at the whole of Nigeria, I think Lagos State is still the biggest tech hub in Nigeria. And that should tell you something, that it's either there's an enabling environment or they have the enabling infrastructure to be able to set up those tech innovations. I know in Obi's tenure, he tried to focus on education and a few things. But even during the COVID pandemic, I think Lagos was the most, I think that was the only school that was able, the only educational system that was able to still deliver classes using technology. They tried to find the way to get tech into the system. And I know Obi, during his tenure, he tried to get, I think they said he got computers for schools and all of that. But how have those translated into the tech footprint in Anambra State? How has it pushed the Anambra State indigents in the tech space? Do we have computer village set type infrastructure in Anambra State? Do we have people that are makers in Anambra State? Do we have people that are tech oriented? Do we have a technological hub in Anambra State? So I think those are some of the things that you want to look at in terms of I don't have those details, so I can't speak to it because I live in Lagos, so I can speak. So maybe if Kelechi can help us throw some light on that. Then in terms of Atiku, at the federal level at that time, I know it was just when they came in that the mobile phone service came in, then it was very expensive and all that. So how much of an influence did Atiku have in that regard? I really don't know, but I know it was during their tenure that we started technological advancement as a country. So it's amongst the three, it's I don't know, I can't really tell, but in Lagos State, because I have Lagos State as a benchmark and as a yardstick that I can see, I live in and I experience every day. So it's easy for me to say, okay, Lagos State has done a lot better, but other people may say differently. And in terms of, when you look at manifesto, I think Tinubu's manifesto is, if you have to compare it, if you want to rate them, I don't think it's the most robust, but as a business development executive as well, and a business development support provider, when you look at, it's not, you can write the best business plan. So I used to be a mentor on Tony Elumelu Foundation, and you find out that people write very fantastic business plans, but you realize that they don't even have a clue on how to implement that business. They get a grant writer, give them some money, you're going to get $5,000. So you offer a grant writer $500. They write a very fantastic business plan for you. So it's not about the business, but honestly, it's not about the manifesto. So we shouldn't even be looking at manifesto. I can give anybody, Atiku can pay $1 million to have that manifesto written for him. And at the end of the day, is it realistic? Is it achievable? Does he even understand what's the money? When you know that they understand the manifesto is when they go out there. Are they speaking to their manifesto, or they're speaking away from the manifesto? Because that's when you know that this is something that is from me. It's just like a business owner. If you want to write a business plan for a business owner, the business owner has to have a very high input in the business plan. Am I right or wrong? You know, it's very important because he knows what he wants. But a lot of the time, you find people just say, this is the business I want to do. Okay, get a grant writer to write it. They come up with a fantastic plan. They don't have a clue. So when you even ask the person, okay, come and speak to this, your business plan, he can't say anything because he's clueless. He didn't write it. Somebody just wrote something fantastic for him. It cannot defend it. So that's why if you notice, a lot of the times, even when I looked at the Economic Summit group dialogue, you find out that they can't even speak to their manifesto. So you need to understand, where did this manifesto emanate from? Who wrote the manifesto to start with? Is it his vision or not? Because if it's your vision, you're going to speak to it better. So those are the key areas that I think we should look at. Since they said we should be objective about, so looking at the three different candidates, I think we should look at it along those lines as well.
Yeah, if Dr. Kweju just responded to your ask that whatever contribution we want to make, we should be as objective and as much as possible. Unfortunately, Taufik and Kelechi will not be objective, okay, because they have their firm belief in their candidates and they will not give it up for anything. Mrs. Esijelonima, I mean, I don't know if you want to also jump in here on what all the speakers have been speaking to.
Okay, good. Yeah, sure. Why not? I've been listening to all of you. I maintain, and I maintain, and I maintain. With all humility, I have run banks as a managing director in different countries. If you lack integrity, you do not have a sustainable business. Trust me. I have had the opportunity to go and turn around some of our operations in some of the in the country, in the bank that I worked. I worked for a Pan-African bank at the time. And there were times that all the capital in these operations were already wiped out practically. And the head office would be, Jeloni, you have to go to that country. I tell you, I don't know the people. I didn't know them. I had not worked with them. I went there as a lone leader, as the new MD of the bank. I collaborated with the same people, but they were taking the cue from the leadership. They were, what is the MD doing? What is she saying? Is she really honest? Is she one of integrity? And I tell you, give it 3-4 months, my experience was, you saw the ship begin to turn. It turned and was now steering in the right direction. Bank fixed. People at the lower levels, nobody changed. The ones who could not fit in, they were exited by themselves because they knew the environment had changed and they could no longer cope. And all the leakages were plugged. Contractors that worked with the bank that would do funny things, they also exited because the people they collaborated with on these things, they were no longer there. And so skills are great. I am highly skilled with all humility. Trust me. You can't run a shop if you don't have skills. And if you do not know how to run a team, you can't run a shop. But at the same time, you can't do any of these if you lack integrity as a leader. So this
quickly, Ma, I just want to ask this, trying to take a cue from what Dr. Kweju was saying. Now, for those banks that you transformed, could that transformation have happened with your integrity alone without your skill sets?
Certainly not. You need skills. How can you run a business when you don't have skills? What questions are you going to ask the people? If there's not, even if you don't know nothing, be able to ask the right questions. And for you to ask the right questions, you have to have enough knowledge. You have to acquire some skills along the way. All right, as you went to it, and you keep learning on the seat as the managing director. So actually, you're doing more schooling for yourself to be able to perform. And so work doesn't start at 7 for me as an individual, for example, and ends at 10. When I go home, I'm studying I am actually studying what did this other bank that was transformed by this individual, how did they do it? And I am taking notes like I'm studying. I have friends who have come to my house and they would be like, Jelani, what's going on? Look at your shelf of books, management books, executive books. Are you studying? I said, study is a constant. If you want to do a damn good job, you have to sharpen the sword. That's what Stephen Covey says. If you do not sharpen that sword, you can't perform. So your skills are very important. Your knowledge base is very important. Your leadership skills of team building and team and collaboration is important. But trust me, if you lack integrity, you won't do as well. You might be doing X, but if you had integrity, you'll be doing 100 times better. That's the point.
Oh, again, just to follow up on what you're saying, right? For the next president of Nigeria, for us in the tech space to get what we want, we compulsorily need a president that has both the skill set and integrity.
Absolutely.
If that two comes side by side, definitely we'll have an enabling environment created for us in the tech space to thrive. So my question to Taufik and Kelechi now is, can you convince us that your candidate has both integrity and the skill set to move Nigeria forward?
Good question.
Taufik, are you going first? Taufik.
Okay.
Is that
So,
question too
no,
much for you to ask?
No, yeah, the admin actually muted me, so I had to struggle for that. So, well, in addition to integrity and the skill set, there's one thing that is much more important for whoever we're actually looking for in leadership in Nigeria as our next president come after the election on Saturday, is that big vision. Without the vision, the skill sets and the integrity will not take us far. As a nation, we have a lot of potential to actually move from where we are to where we ought to be among the community of nations. We need that big dream, that big vision. So in one part, you won't fault my candidates. Afo actually mentioned that two of us, I and Kelechi, have actually pitched our tent as to where we are going regardless, and we seem to be tailoring our arguments around that. Maybe yes, and maybe based on the fact that the more you want to know about your candidates, the more information available is what you will be talking about. So, I'm more exposed into what my candidates is willing to do. And that's because of the fact that before this election started, I've been one person in the actual school of thought as to how it's been able to galvanize, dreams, visions, put people together, and been struggling with that, idea of whatever he wants to become up until now. I can actually reflect that in the way he answers questions, he talks to people, he engages people about what he wants this thing so badly. And some people has actually faulted him that, he's so desperate. That's not desperation. He needs it so badly, and he's actually going all out to get it, and he has been preparing over time with one big vision on his personal self. Big vision as a country. We are talking about tech space. A lot of tech advancement can actually be happen if the leader himself, apart from having the skill set, does he have the big vision to actually get it done? If he has big vision to say, okay, this is what the direction we want to feel as a country, tech and outside of tech. And
so Taufik, before you go further, right? The question is still, does your candidate has both integrity and the skill set? I really need you to convince us that he has both integrity and competency, right? Then you can now do your follow-ups.
Okay, good. My candidate has integrity, he has the skill set, and he has a vision. I was actually trying to portray the part of vision as to how he's been able to use his vision to galvanize.
Can you start by portraying the side of integrity?
Yes, integrity.
That comes first before anything.
Yeah. Okay. Now, integrity for Tinubu yeah, you can't really fault him. Again, my colleague Kester has mentioned something the other time, nobody's perfect, right? And again, when you talk about integrity in a Nigeria context, any person that we actually put forward is one among all of us. You'll be able to, what is the integrity rate as a country, as we have? We can't bring a saint to come out because this way the system is, saints cannot emerge into a very front line of Nigerian politics, right? So to that extent, if you want to measure it by the standard of Nigeria, I mean, each of these candidates have the same rating as far as I'm concerned. It all depends on which side are you looking at them. As far as I'm concerned, for Nigerian standard, yes, he has the integrity. Then in terms of a skill set, I mean, he has actually proved this over different fora, different achievements and all that over time. In terms of infrastructure, in terms of a superstructure, he has been able to build and all that. Then in terms of vision, I mean, he's actually a larger pack among all other contenders as to what he can give to the country as a whole. And the part that actually even killed it for me, as far as his candidature is concerned, is that part where he keep hammering. He's not comparing us to see what China is doing, see what Somalia is doing. No, that's not the point. See what we have as resources, and see where we are going. I mean, my candidates keep saying that it doesn't see a reason why we can't be in the same space with the first advanced countries in the world, because we have all the resources to get it there, including natural resources to actually be head-to-head with the like of Russia and US, as the case may be, as long as we identify where is our core strength in terms of our resources, both human and material resources, and we'll be able to have the vision to drive all of us down there. To that extent, my candidates actually stand a pole apart with others.
With integrity and skill set. All right. Kelechi, your candidate, does he have integrity with the skill set that is required to move Nigeria to the next level? Kelechi, where are you?
Okay, Afo, thank you very much. I think the answer to those two questions is a very big yes. Without mincing word, my colleague said Nigerian integrity. The truth is, there is nothing like Nigerian integrity. If we now begin to classify integrity as maybe UK or American integrity and one is Nigerian integrity, that means something is amiss. Yeah, and I have a big mentor that usually says truth is truth. Truth is eternal. Truth is the same thing in America and the truth is the same thing in Nigeria. There is no maybe half truth. So if we have a Nigerian version of integrity, with what is on ground, I can tell you categorically that is no integrity. But that aside, for integrity and skill set, Obi has it 100%. We don't need to look at his records to see the integrity and for the skill set, the records are there to see. As governor of Anambra State, Obi won virtually all the available awards across each category that he was nominated for, or I don't know what yardstick or what metrics they use in giving those awards anyway. But for the facts, I'm from Anambra State. Anambra State has and still maintains the best road network. Almost like these 8-9 years Obi left office, and those were part of Obi's achievements. In terms of education, Obi took Anambra State from the 26th out of the 36 states we have in Nigeria with the Federal Capital Territory to #1 in Nigeria. That's still on record. And Anambra State has maintained that same record, fluctuating between, they've not gone below third in Nigeria. That's in terms of education. In terms of medical, Anambra State under Obi has the best medical facility in Nigeria, state-of-the-art medical facilities in Nigeria. So one of the panels, the big lady talked about the tech hub in Anambra State. Yeah, Anambra State has a little tech hub, not as big as what we have in Lagos. Lagos is more like, Lagos is the center of excellence. That's what we call it. So whatever you look up to, you have to look up to Lagos.
Kelechi, there's a question for you. Kelechi, very quickly. Okay. Dr. Kweju asked what you do. Like, what are you currently doing? You want to answer that?
Okay, I'm a business development person. Let me put it that way.
So Kelechi is a business development manager. He sells technology solutions. Dr. Kweju, is your question answered? because I think she wants to hire you instantly, that you're a very good salesperson. The way you are selling your candidate, your candidate must really be proud of you.
Okay, I'm seeing someone ask where I live. I live in Lagos. I've been in Lagos for the past 12, 13 years. Yeah.
So why do you live in Lagos? Why haven't you moved back to Anambra State to try and develop at least some things in Anambra if it was that fantastic?
Okay, let's put it this way. When we ask this question, what we are simply saying is Tinubu built Lagos and Obi built Anambra. No, Anambra State has been in existence before Obi was even born. Lagos State has been in existence before Tinubu was given birth to. These people came and played their part at a point in time. That doesn't mean that they own or built anything in these states. They contributed their parts. The success of Lagos State cannot be attributed to only Tinubu alone.
Can I ask you, I'm not attributing it to a particular person.
I'm coming to your question. I'm coming to your question now. I schooled in my university education was in Anambra State. Coming to Lagos, yes, like I said, Lagos is the center of excellence. And that has been even before Tinubu came into power. Lagos has been the point of attraction for every well-meaning Nigerian or anybody that is looking to make it make headways in his or her life. Lagos has been the reference point, except those that have their own personal reservation for Lagos. If you ask even a boy in the village, he will tell you, I want to go to Lagos. When we were giving birth to going to Lagos is like going to Canada or going to US London, or going to UK now.
Oh, yeah, that's like going up. Lagos is the abroad of Nigeria. Okay, so let me ask you a quick question.
Okay. Yeah,
because the truth of the matter is that we all know Lagos is overstretched in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the population. It's the smallest state in Nigeria. And what we need right now going forward, it's not about, we need Lagos in every state of Nigeria. If you look at Ogun State is growing because of some spillover from Lagos, and it's expanding, and it's going to keep getting bigger and better. But we need the truth of the matter is that if we have so you tell me you have world-class hospitals. Like one of the key things I find for me, if you have there's medical tourism, there's so many things that can be done that can be reversed. If you have the best hospital in Anambra State or a fantastic tech hub in Anambra State, that no matter what it is, it's just like in India, they have this tech school, that's the Institute of Technology in India. It's almost as competitive as going to MIT or something like that. You can't even get into the Indian tech school, except you're you're a genius or something like that. So if you have such a what do you call it? If you have such a system in your state or in any other region, we need to take it away from Lagos. If you build such systems in other parts of the country, people will definitely go there because they know that this place is number one for so and so. And once people start going there, it's going to automatically drive the economy of the region, of the state. Then people will start going there. So we don't have to keep having that mentality. And the beauty of it is that we have technology today. Technology has expanded everything. It has opened up the world. So I'm right here now challenging you. I'm challenging you to go back to Anambra and look at what you as a business development practitioner can do to develop that space. So you have more young people in Anambra that have been through the university or the secondary school, looking at how can we develop Anambra to be a place that people want to come to. People want to stay in Anambra. People that have left Anambra, they'll be hearing that, oh, have you heard what is going on in Anambra? You need to come back to Anambra. And that's why I'm asking that question, because we all keep waiting for, it has to be this way, that person did this, that. But the truth of the matter is that Lagos is overwhelmed. We need more of Lagos across Nigeria. That is what we should be talking about. We have technology to help us drive that. And I think that's what this conversation is also about. How can we now leverage on technology? How can we leverage on the resources that we have? Who do we look at in terms of our presidential candidates? Who do you think has the capacity? That's very critical, capacity to be able to deliver that. Somebody posted something and said Lagos State, what do they call it? Lagos State staff, something about the Lagos State. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it up. The Lagos State was able to implement something, let me see, the revenue on resumption of engage Oracle to normalize salaries of workers in Nigeria. No any other state in Nigeria up till today has been able to resolve payroll theft. So even if you say, oh, integrity, there's systems that they've put in place. One thing you should understand is, I don't know, the truth is Tinubu has been bandied about as though having the best of integrities. But sometimes when I ask some certain questions, that how can somebody without integrity rise to the highest level in the finance department of a multinational company, which is Mobile? That is a very big question that you need to ask yourself. So I don't know if it's the politics that has tainted the integrity that makes people feel that, okay, well, he's got his hands in so many things. But the truth of the matter is that when you look at technology, how can we use technology? How can we bring technology into governance? I think that is what we should be having in this conversation as well. And who amongst the candidates do you think will be able to effectively bring in technology into governance and help us streamline our operations, government operations? Why should I get a file into the system and the file sits on somebody's table for 10 days? These are the kind of conversations we should be having. What kind of systems can we put in place to track these things? Who amongst these candidates do we think has the capacity, has the skill set, has the knowledge, has the understanding to be able to put these structures in place? Because the critical thing right now we have is, once you put in structures, I have structures that you can abide by, that can be monitored, that can be assessed, that you can evaluate. Do you understand? It makes it also easy to block some of these loopholes that we have in the system. So when you're talking, I don't want us to be talking about, oh, this person has done that. How can they do better? How can we get Nigeria to start working? That's what we should be talking about, because that is what is going to get us out of this mess that we find ourselves in, honestly. Sorry,
Okay,
I think
talking about the mess.
I think I've not finished. I think I need to answer some of our concerns.
Yes, Kelechi, you would answer now, right? I was going to ask Kelechi to finish, so go ahead. Taufik, hold your thoughts.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Peju. For me, yeah, I agree with you on one thing. Lagos is overstretched. And I agree with you that we need to start replicating Lagos in other states. But I can also tell you that Lagos wasn't what it is because somebody did it. Now, we need somebody to help replicate Lagos in other states, or whatever it is that is attracting people to Lagos into other states. Now we are looking at tech. Let's focus on tech. What is Obi's idea on tech? Number one thing I said earlier before, Lagos has so many advantages, so many benefits, so many attraction points that brings people. A young graduate will finish from wherever he finished from. The first place that comes to his mind to go look for a job is Lagos. Number one thing. Yeah, we talk about the tech penetration, the broadband penetration. My colleague Kester made mention of that broadband penetration. Now, if you want to do tech, you are in Anambra State. I can tell you there are some states in Anambra State, even to see a 2G network is very difficult. And that is not Obi's making. MTN has rolled out 5G network only in Lagos and Abuja. In Anambra State, you can some places you can't even get 2G network, let alone a 3G or 4G or 5G. It will probably take like maybe in the next 5, 6, 7 years for you to even have a 5G network. By then, maybe Lagos will be in 10G if there's anything like 10G that's going to come up. So those are some of the things. Now, what is Obi's idea on tech? in order to diversify this tech. I'll read one of his manifesto, action-based manifesto. Anybody can put all sorts of things together without a measurable index of how to get these things done. On the, what's it called now? On the broadband, Obi proposed a combination of both state-led and a public-private initiative to drive the penetration of broadband information and the highway that is necessary to empower smart industrialization across all the states. I didn't see Tinubu talk about anything. Tinubu's idea on tech is just to create jobs. But are you creating a job for tech for a population that doesn't even have the right skill set or that doesn't even have the necessary tools, the broadband to drive this tech? So you see that for me, Obi's manifestation drives even more on how to get this tech thing done. Number one key thing, the broadband penetration needs to be there. If I have the same internet facility, I can do whatever I need to do. Maybe Kester can do his all his activity in maybe, Kester, where are you from? Sorry.
Edo.
Okay, Kester can do anything he needs to do from Edo. I can tell you for a free, I can sit back in the comfort. The cost of living in Anambra State or in Edo State is is on the way on the low side compared to Lagos. So why come to Lagos and do that and do the same thing I can do while in Edo State? But I can't do those things in Edo or Anambra State because there is the internet penetration there is even non-existent at all. So if I have all these facilities there, I can tell you categorically we'll have a lot of people that will move back to their various states. I can use one thing as a case scenario. In Anambra State now, Anambra is known for business. I can tell you, I know a lot of importers, they come to, the only thing that brings them to Lagos is when they come to clear their goods. They go back to Anambra State. Why? Because there has that opportunity or that enabling environment for business, the importation business to thrive is there in Anambra State. They don't need to be in Lagos. And they bring in their container and sell some of their half of their container goods in Lagos, even before bringing the remaining one to Anambra State. So if I have that same enabling environment in tech, there is a broadband penetration, there is enough hub to train the individuals in tech. I can tell you categorically, we have a lot of people that will move back to their various states. And the only person that addressed that with an actionable plan in his manifesto is Obi. Atiku's manifesto doesn't even address anything about broadband penetration. He also talked about creation of jobs through tech. Bat also did the same thing, creation of jobs through tech. But which job are you creating? Are you creating job for a population that doesn't even have the required skill set or even the tools to carry out this job? That's a big question someone needs to answer.
Yes, Kelechi, I just want to speak generally here, and I think it's something we've all been speaking to. Something that seems to be missing, missing for us as Nigerians is we need to move away from this, sense of entitlement. And I think it actually comes from the top down. Governors of Nigerian states must actually take ownership of governance. Now, making everything a federal government problem is even part of the challenges we are facing as a country. The governor of Anambra State, the governor of Gombe State actually can make the best of the resources they have. With Nigerian current architecture, like Madam Essie mentioned, right? Madam Joloni, what she mentioned, right? From the leadership standpoint, from the skill set standpoint, if you have what it takes with the resources you have and with the power vested in you as a governor, you can replicate Lagos in all part of Nigeria. But that idea that you can only get things done if you are a Nigerian president is part of the problem we have that has actually cascaded down to every level. What is Nigeria doing for me? Nigeria has not given me broadband. Nigeria has not given me electricity. Nigeria has not given me this. And the governors are saying the same thing. The local government too are saying the same thing. And with the authority vested in them as governors, what have you done? I like to reference what Governor Bukola Saraki did some years ago when he was the governor, attracting Zimbabwe farmers to come and start a farming ranch and so many agricultural ideas in Kwara State. What happened to that, is a conversation for another day. A similar one was also what Donald Duke did back, with the Tinapa and Obudu Cattle Ranch. Meaning, as a governor, you have authority to change your state. You have authority to attract investment. But waiting on federal government or waiting on government intervention to make things happen is also why we are not moving forward as a country. We must take ownership and we must be ready to play our own beat to make Nigeria a better country. From us as individuals to all levels that we find ourselves. Taufik, you want to say something? Taufik?
Okay, so thank you for putting that in perspective. I was actually wanting to mention the Donald Duke's idea of what do you call it? I mean, the project he did back in the States. So, going back to the statistics that Kelechi rolled out about Anambra first in this and first in that. I mean, I have a little search will actually prove 50% of those that are wrong in the first place. But coming back to tech, two things are actually very important to technology. First is the broadband penetration, power. Power is as good for technology as it is good for every other sectors of Nigeria. And we can actually look at what has each of these candidates done in the past as to what they are promising to do in the future. Here in Lagos is a common knowledge that right far back as when no state was thinking about generating power, everybody was relying on the federal government grid. Lagos State created independent power projects to provide electricity for its citizens within the Lagos, and the idea was actually to expand it to all homes. But again, Nigerian constitution is actually a limiting system where it is compelling for the state to put it in the national grid. Now, this has happened far away before any government actually thinks of putting this into their plans. I mean, that's actually to say when government is ready to advance your cause. I mean, when that is ready to advance your cause, it makes it easier for the follower to be able to navigate towards a growth success direction. That's one. Then a question about what again has these people done in their part, because the best way to actually measure is what have they done in their individual capacity to be able to know what can they offer Nigeria as a whole. I mean, far back as, I mean, he mentioned something again about Anambra Oracle. I'm actually surprised that is actually coming back in this century. Far back as 2006, Lagos State happened to be the very first state to adopt Oracle in its payroll system. You can check the record. No state, even in a lot of Western world is not even exposed to using that kind of technology as far back as that time. I mean, that's actually to say, okay, if I've done it in the past, it's something that is doable in the future. It's a matter of do I have a larger field to be able to play, I mean, to make this happen. Again, it would be a wrong idea to actually think, okay, yeah, because Lagos is actually the bedrock of Lagos does also, if you look at the statistics of Lagos happening far back, I mean, during the military era as to what is happening, advancement in terms of infrastructure, superstructure, and all that has actually made Lagos today. Everybody is coming to Lagos. If Lagos allowed everybody to come as they were, all infrastructure will have been so dilapidated, it won't be enough to even house half of the current Lagos. Far back in 2006, when federal government was doing, the last census we had was that time. We had the census of 2006 that actually put Lagos population at about 9 million or so. Now, Lagos feel that this is not, I mean, this does not capture us very well. Lagos going to its own census, using technology again, back to our cause, using technology. As we speak today, Lagos is the only state where biometric registration is actually used to capture every citizen in Nigeria and within the state to be able to provide whatever amenities the government is willing to give. Again, the more you're able to advance all this technology in terms of governance, it will help your policy driven, it will help in terms of infrastructure development and all that. So again, saying Tinubu built Lagos, maybe, I mean, It's not about Tinubu building Lagos. It's about Tinubu creating a better enabling environment for Lagos to try further from what it used to be. Again, we should not forget that Lagos was a chaos. No matter what everybody is thinking of coming to Lagos, they're coming to Lagos to meet a chaos. But somebody is designing a structure to make it last longer. And again, we need a lot of this to be replicated in every state in Nigeria. Every state does not have to be good at what Lagos is good at, no doubt. I mean, you can actually have your agriculture and make the best of your agriculture. Example is a Gombe state who decide to use technology to drive a ghost working system. Like, okay, there's a lot of ghost working system within them, and they feel, okay, technology can actually help this happen. So every state's government can actually look at.
Thank you, Taufik. Yeah. Your points are well taken and noted. Mrs. Joloni wants to speak to the Tinapa example. You know, while speaking to that, you would also be helping us with your closing remark and what you believe should be the key takeout from this session. After you, I would also call on Dr. Kweju for a final remark, and also final remark from Kelechi and Taufik. Go ahead, Mrs. Joloni.
Okay, thank you very much. Very quickly, what I wanted to contribute to the discussion very quickly on Tinapa, and I'm tying it to integrity. I happen to have been responsible for the southeast region of the bank I worked for at the time. So it meant Calabar was part of it. So I had opportunities to visit Tinapa and talk with the then governor and the governor that was responsible for setting it up. You won't believe it. Great project. I was very proud to be a Nigerian when I went to Tinapa. The then president of the country at the time of the implementation of this project was President Olusegun Obasanjo. He had a big vision. He supported it. And guess what? Tinapa died after he left. Why? Because somebody from another state responsible for the customs or something refused to implement what the federal government had agreed with the state government. They wanted all importers to pay duty from the free trade zone. So it meant if they imported, so somebody was alluding to imports to the eastern part of Nigeria, it had to come to Lagos. So the Igbo traders will come to Lagos to come and take their goods because they shipped into Lagos. They don't have to ship into Lagos. The provision was to ship into Calabar, and from Calabar, it was easier to go to those eastern states. Nobody would need to be in Lagos for their trades. So I'm trying to say that I checked the meanings of integrity, and one of it was I looked at the attributes. It says good judgment. So it's not only about stealing. Good judgment is integrity. Is this sound judgment to want to set up a port, a free trade zone in an area that would avoid everybody going to Lagos, for example? So these are the questions. And when you take Port Harcourt, they also set up a zone for what's the name of this area called what is it, Intel, the Intel area or something. And again, a big vision of Obasanjo. Someone else came, they wanted to change that. They wanted to insist that all ships coming into Nigeria must come through Lagos. And they wanted to ban that whole setup that had been put up in Port Harcourt. So you see that the issue of integrity is critical to development. Is this sound? Does this make sense? It's not only about stealing money. You actually steal money when you make a wrong judgment in a sense. So that is what I wanted to contribute from that angle. But the other thing to round up, I think this is an excellent forum, and congratulations for doing this. I was thinking at some point, I said, you know what? Many years ago, I just used to think, just having these conversations, I would watch this project, these big meetings, the G8, they met, and actually I just used to be so critical. Oh, look at them, they're just chatting. Nothing ever comes out of it. Then once I was watching a program, and I saw, oh, this thing that is run in the world today, it was at a G8 meeting 10 years ago that it was discussed, and out of that, this came up. Then I began to have respect for platforms. So well done. We might all be chatting. I guess one or two good things will come out of it that can be implemented. Thank you very much.
Exactly, man. Thank you so much for your contribution and time. Dr. Kweju.
Thank you so much. It's been so interesting. So I'll speak to two things. Number one, I would like to talk about the Intel thing is because I happen to operate in Calabar and Port Harcourt for a while. And one thing that happened then was if you ever wanted to ship to Port Harcourt, to Intel, it was ridiculously expensive. And that's why a lot of people are banned. I had a client in Port Harcourt. He is a strong man in Port Harcourt. And when they gave him the cost of shipping and clearing in Port Harcourt from Intel, it was ridiculously expensive. So he decided to just do Lagos and bring it down, truck it down to truck it down to Port Harcourt. So I think that was some of the issues that Intel had in terms of port operations. So it wasn't about Lagos, but I think Intel had an internal thing. So they were more focused on the oil companies and servicing the oil companies. So the smaller fries can as well go to Lagos if they can't afford to pay their services. So for Calabar, there was a project that we did in Calabar, and it speaks to one of the visions that where private sector partnership comes in. We had this vision for revenue collection. My chairman, he passed away recently of blessed memory. We had this, let's just try and mobilize domestic resource mobilization for the state, for a particular local government that had a special natural resource that was in abundance, and we created a big project out of it that will help them collect the revenue and get a percentage of it, something like what is happening in Lagos. So the government got wind of it and they were like, oh, how can these people just come and say they want to start helping them collect revenue? And the federal government has said no private company can take revenue for the state. We had put it together. I still have the numbers of what that project could have generated. I'll tell you for free today that the government has not generated, I don't think they've generated 100 million. I don't even think they generated 10 million from that project. And that is not even up to a fraction of the potential revenue they could have gotten from that project. Why? Because one person felt they could do it differently. They didn't need private sector participation. So in closing, I'll say something. When we have, I like what you said about integrity, having someone that has good judgment, having someone not just has sincerity of heart, because when you're sincere in your heart, you want the best. It might not necessarily be that it's about money or corruption or something, but having sincerity of heart, I think that is very critical in government, and that is what we should look at amongst our candidates, because we keep focusing on the federal level. There's only so much the federal can do. Even if the federal government increases the revenue that's coming into Nigeria, he still has to give it to the states. And the state, he cannot tell a state governor, this is how to spend your money. He doesn't have that constitutional right. So if the state government decides to squander the money, that is still on the state government. It is not on the federal government. So we have to start looking at how can our states get better? How do we get involved from the local government level, from grassroots level? How do we drive these conversations? How do we change the narrative from that point of the federal is the most important to let every state look at how they can start doing better within their states? Because once we can start that, it would help us as a country, as a people, because there's nothing that will give me more joy. There's nothing I pray for more than to see a prosperous Nigeria. Because what breaks my heart the most is when we see potential that goes with TINAPA is a project that I cry about every day, because I see TINAPA as a Dubai in Nigeria. You bring things into the free trade zone because it was a free trade zone. The Gazette was not signed. I know a lot about it. We tried to get a shop in TINAPA. My chairman tried to bring it at IKEA into TINAPA as the anchor tenant. So I can tell you a lot about TINAPA. What they needed for TINAPA, even what they can still do for TINAPA, even NSAS project, they've looted the place. They had a hotel. It was a fantastic project that, bring things in there, traders from the southeast can come to Tinapa, buy, and then you pay your duty as you're taking it out. It was a simple process. And then it saves people from having to go to Dubai. Now, all your shipments will be coming directly from China to Tinapa, like it will come from China to Dubai. Now you're cutting that up. You know, it was a system that is actually that is designed to work. But unfortunately, well, probably, I don't know what it is. I know there was a lot of politics. I don't even want to go into that because I'll be saying things that I shouldn't be talking about on this platform. So it's very painful that we have things that can help our country and certain individuals will sit on it. So this is where this integrity now comes in. How do you have your conscience? How do you go to sleep at night when someone creates a project that would help your people and you allow it go to rot? I think our leaders should start thinking along those lines. So it's not about who, because this person started it, is not me that is doing it, I'm going to kill the project. We should stop that because that is also part of the waste that we have in the system. We need to do better. We need to grow Nigeria. It's our collective responsibility. It's not just about one person or that person. It's everybody's responsibility. We all need to do it in our own little corners, in our own little businesses, in every way that we can. We need to start preaching this mantra. We need to start being better as citizens, as Nigerians, because if we don't try it, we'll never get there. We would never get there. One of us can become a political person tomorrow, and whatever culture you've imbibed is what is going to get you and get your people out of whatever mess it is that we find ourselves. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Peju. Kelechi, final word from you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Afo. I think it has been a wonderful platform. I've learned a lot. And then also, I think one key thing I've noticed about this upcoming election, everybody has the interest of Nigeria at heart. We all want a better Nigeria, yeah? We all want a better Nigeria, and our views might be different. Our ideas might be different. Where we are coming from might be different also. And that, to a greater extent, will form our opinion or our choices of candidates. But one thing I also want us to have in mind going into this election is actually, because I think integrity starts from having a good conscience, a good intentions. What are our intentions for our fellow Nigerians? What is our opinion formed based on our personal interest or based on the collective interest of everybody? And also we begin to look at who are the leaders or which of these candidates do we think has the interest of the people at heart? We've pandered a whole lot about corruption, integrity, but the root of all this is, I think, is basically when people don't have the interest of the other person at heart. I want to do things that favor me or things that favor my people, and whatever happens after that is none of my business. Tinapa died, or Tinapa is where it is at the moment because somebody felt it's not his responsibility. Somebody felt is, what am I gaining from it? We need to create some bureaucracy so that some people can get some things out of it and all that. And before we know it, a multi-billion dollar project is just in a state of coma and nobody's doing anything about it. So I think as we go to the election, let's ask ourselves, let's look at the candidates. Yeah, they've come out with wonderful manifesto. The good thing is about the three of them, they have some wonderful manifesto. Whether they wrote it themselves or someone helped them to write it. Yeah, a wonderful manifesto, but we want leaders that can actually go in there and stick to those manifestos. Buhari, as it is today, doesn't even know what is in his manifesto. A lot of the things he promised us, he promised Nigerians, because he never promised me. I never believe in Buhari from day one. I'm sorry to say that. I saw it coming.
Kelechi wrap up.
So let me just drop it here. I wish Nigerians all the best. As we go into the poll, let's examine our choices, let's examine our conscience, and let's vote for the right person. For me, Obi is the right person, and I'll welcome everybody on board to join the Obi train. Thank you very much, Afo.
Yes, thank you, Kelechi. I wish Obi the very best, and I also hope that what you wish for him also happen as you expect. Also, Taufik, I wish you and Bat the very best. But what I would like to say, in closing, from my side, two things that I noted and I think sums up the conversation we've been having is one, that integrity is very important. Skill set is also very important. What Kelechi said, which I would also want to use again, is that at the end of the day, all these candidates, whether you like it or not, they are Nigerians, and in their hearts, I believe they also want the best for our country. And at the end of the day, one candidate will emerge. Whoever emerges as the winner, I think what will be right and what I expect the other candidate to do is to embrace and support him and see how we can move our country forward. Because at the end of the day, this is one country that we have. One thing that has really been affecting us as a country or as people is, most of the time, we keep forgetting that what defines a country is the quality of the people that are in that country, the sacrifice we are willing to make for that country. UK, US, Europe that we reference every day is at the current state they have because some people at some point made the sacrifice, at some point even paid with their life, built the system that all the generations that are living now are enjoying. So right now we are at that state that, as Nigerians, we must see Nigerian first before everything. We need to move away from what we are trying to get from Nigeria. It should now be more of what we are willing, the sacrifices we are willing to make for our country. If Obi, for example, emerges as the winner of the next election, I would expect to see Batified and his wonderful manifesto ready to support Obi and ensure we see a better country. And if Batified emerges as the winner, Obi should be willing to come to the table, work with Batified and move Nigeria forward. So I want to thank everybody for your contribution. I have some other people on this session that also would like to contribute, but we can't have the floor open to everybody, and that's the reason why we have it limited. So what Kesa and Ife will do after this session, it's a recorded Zoom session. It will be edited. It would a lot nicer than what we have, and you will see the outcome of our deliberation. Hopefully it will get to, Kelechi will get it to Obi, Taufik will get it to Batified, and they would also get some important lessons from our deliberation. I want to especially thank and appreciate Mrs. Jeloni for joining the session, and Dr. Kweju. I just reached out to both of them yesterday, and I said, I would like you to be part of this session, and they said, Afo, if it's about you, we'll support you in our own little way. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you more than you can ever imagine. And thank you all for your time. Have a good one and stay blessed.
Thank you.
Fekesa.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And have a good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Okay, bye.
Good evening, Dr.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.